Tonight, opposites attract in Pride.
Jeremy Renner exposes some dirty tricks in Kill the Messenger.
And star-crossed lovers get a second chance in The Best of Me. Hello.
Good evening.
Also tonight, a portrait of an artist in Finding Vivian Maier.
The world's busiest insect zeroes in on a film career in Maier, the Bee Movie.
And tonight's classic is Nicholas Ray's Johnny Guitar. But David, let's start with Kill the Messenger.
Well, in the mid-1990s, Gary Webb, Jeremy Renner, was a journalist working on a small newspaper, the San Jose Mercury News, when he stumbled on a story involving funding by the CIA of Nicaraguan anti-communist Contras with money earned from drugs sold in black ghettos. As he probes deeper, Webb, who has a wife, Rosemary DeWitt, and 3 children, feels increasingly threatened. But after a trip to Nicaragua, where he interviews Norma Meneses, Andy Garcia, in prison, he gets the support of his editors at the paper, Oliver Platt and Mary Elizabeth Winstead, to run a 3-part story, Dark Alliance.
Guys, it's the 80s. It's 10-year-old news. What's the story?
Jerry, just let him finish.
So one of the DEA's most wanted, not only not in jail for eternity, but apparently on the government payroll, admitting in open court that he brought in thousands of kilos of cocaine to the U.S. every day. For them.
For who?
The U.S. government, or with them, or at least while they were looking the other way.
Jesus.
This is the biggest story the Mercs ever had.
That's what worries me. A lot of blind spots. You know, we don't know Washington. We don't do international.
We do now.
Michael Cuesta's gripping film, scripted by Peter Landsman, from Nick Shue's book, Kill the Messenger, and from Webb's own articles, is a tribute to a courageous investigative journalist. While not perhaps in quite the same league as All the President's Men, the film nevertheless provides vivid insights into the way this kind of journalism works, or should work, in a democracy, even though the government authorities being exposed will do most anything to stop the story being published. Ironically, in this case, it was rival newspapers such as the Los Angeles Times that gave Webb much of the grief. Jeremy Renner gives a superb performance, and despite some shaky camera work, the film is a potent reminder of why curbs on a free press and the work of journalists should not be tolerated in a democratic society. Margaret.
No, I'm all for that, but I think it is a fabulous performance by Jeremy Renner.
He's good, isn't he?
Yes. It's a really, really interesting story. I found just something unanswered or something in the film. And when you compare it to All the President's Men, I mean, that's got this triumphant...
Well, that's a story with a beginning and a middle and an end. And
yeah.
this really...
Well, this has got a beginning, middle and an end. But I thought it was interesting, this idea of all the big newspapers being incredibly jealous
threatened
of,
almost, yeah,
of the Mercury's getting hold of the story. So, I mean, it was not only vested interests against him, but, jealousy from other press.
Yeah.
Look, I'm giving this 3.5 stars. I think it's pretty good.
I was on the edge of my seat. I'm giving it 4.
They didn't flip anyone. Blandon was working for the government the entire time.
You for real?
Yeah.
Look here, man, he was 1,000 times heavier than I'll ever be. I couldn't sell it fast enough to keep up with supply.
Slow down. You mean demand?
No, I mean supply. I was buying 100 kilos a week, selling $3 million a day, and still couldn't get rid of that inventory fast enough, man. It was raining coke.
Allegedly, Rick.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Look here, man, I gave him $6 million a week, allegedly.
That's impossible.
Is it?
How do you sell that much cocaine on the street?
Look here, man, we used to cook it with baking soda. We called it Ready Rock. Powder was for rich folks. Look here, man, I was just the elf. Blandon was Santa Claus.
Whoa. Kill the Messenger opens nationally this week. The latest adaptation of a Nicholas Sparks novel to arrive in our cinemas is The Best of Me, directed by Michael Hoffman and starring Michelle Monaghan and James Marsden as, wouldn't you know it, star-crossed lovers, Amanda and Dawson. He's just survived, heroically, an explosion on an oil rig, and she's married to a jerk, Sebastian Archulus, when both of them get a call from a lawyer telling them of the death of their friend, 93-year-old Tuck, Gerald McRaney, who was Dawson's adopted father after he escaped his violent white trash family. In their backstory, Dawson is played by Australian Luke Bracey and Amanda by Liana Liberato.
First song that comes on clearly.
We're in the middle of nowhere. We're not going to get anything. And even if you do get something, it's going to be a public broadcast on fly fishing. Why you always right?
I guess it's just a gift.
When the older Amanda and Dawson discover they've inherited Tuck's old country house, they're thrown together with rather predictable results.
I miss this. I miss you getting all mad at me.
I'm not mad.
Being a little pushy.
I'm not pushy.
You just care so much, Amanda. You just can't help yourself.
I should go.
What?
This is dangerous. We've had wine, and somehow you have gotten better looking, which is so annoying. Couldn't you have gotten bald or fat or something? Jeez.
Well, one of the problems with the film is the fact that it's impossible to believe that Luke Bracey could ever evolve into James Marsden. Apparently, Paul Walker was slated for the older Dawson before his tragic death, but even he would not have been a great fit. Marsden and Monaghan never look particularly comfortable in their roles. The youngies do much better, but at least they have the ballast of Gerald McRaney to play against. The dialogue, created by J. Mills Goodloe and Will Fetters, who adapted another Sparks novel, The Lucky One, is leaden and cliched. Dawson's hick family is a creation of caricatures. The Best of Me will probably appeal to fans of adaptations of Sparks novels, but with Michael Hoffman directing at a leisurely pace, it's hard not to notice the flaws. It's only at the end of the film that you realise the ironic nature of the title. David.
You know, Margaret, one of the things I'm most looking forward to about my retirement is not ever having to see another Nicholas Sparks movie, because they bring out the worst in me. They really do.
Oh,
I mean,
no,
so...
what about The Notebook? The Notebook was okay.
I did not like The Notebook either. I mean, they're so cliched, they're so manipulative, they're so obvious. And this is just the same formula over again. You know, love stories in two different age groups, and as you rightly say, I think the two Dawsons look about as much like you and me as they do about one older than the other. I mean,
you see, they're not bad separately, but as
put them together,
meaning them to be the same person.
Yes.
After
it is
20 years.
Too much of a stretch.
It is a little
too
bit.
much of a stretch.
Most unfortunate. I think this will appeal to.
I'm sure it will.
You know,
didn't appeal to me though.
I know. Well, I'm giving it slightly the benefit of the doubt. 2.5 stars.
I'm not. I'm giving it 1.5.
You're the smartest guy in the rig, huh?
Well, of course I am. Yeah, you know, I got pretty good at computer, actually, and my boss wanted me to go back to school, get certified as an IT specialist.
Then let me guess. You don't want to do that.
I like my job.
But you might like the new one more. I don't know why you just don't go to college and get the
Piece of paper.
Well, I don't.
Yeah, that's her. That's the girl who just wouldn't let me settle.
Yeah, well, I haven't seen much of her lately, so.
Yeah, but there she is.
The Best of Me opens around the country this week. Our next film is Finding Vivian Maier. Collector John Maloof accidentally discovered the work of Vivian Maier when he bought a box of undeveloped photographic negatives at auction. When printed, they proved to be exceptional, mostly black and white, studies of ordinary people candidly and most beautifully captured on the streets of New York and Chicago. Maloof was determined to find out more about Maier, and his investigations led to this film, which he made in collaboration with Charlie Siskel.
I liked her a lot. She was a terrific person. In 1962, I lived in Highland Park. I had a lot of small children. I was home a lot. One of my children was friendly with one of the boys she took care of. The children, they were always at each other's houses, and she would come by. We had good conversations with kids swirling around us all the time. I had a very freewheeling, open household. There weren't a lot of rules. don't get killed in the street. She loved the children, and the children loved her. She was wonderful to the children. I think probably loved them as much as she probably loved anybody.
While not able to explain why Maier never printed or publicly displayed her remarkable photographs, Maloof and Siskel still come up with a portrait of a fascinating woman, a reclusive nanny who, though born in New York in the 20s, had family ties to a small village in the French Alps. Talking heads include her former employees and the men and women who knew her as their nanny. And what they have to say is always fascinating. But most fascinating of all are the photos themselves and the mind of the immensely gifted woman responsible for them. Margaret.
It's terrific. It's really terrific. And normally I don't like documentaries where the filmmaker inserts himself so much into the picture. But in this case, Maloof sort of works because he seems to be the same sort of obsessive as Maier herself. And what's fascinating about the film also is that the layers of this woman that are revealed through the film, because she wasn't necessarily particularly likeable.
No, that's right.
She had cruelty in her as well towards some of the children. But it's the photos themselves. And we've shown moving footage here because she did take Super 8 footage as well. But it's the still photographs that are just stunning. And it's his efforts also to get her recognised by one of the major art institutions. No, I think this is really to be recommended. I'm giving it 4 stars.
I'm with you, Margaret. 4 stars.
She travelled by herself. Just her and her camera. There are thousands of photos from her world travels.
An amazing collection. Finding Vivian Maier opens in limited national release next week. The miners' strike in Great Britain in 1984 created unexpected alliances, and one of these is explored in the film Pride, directed by Matthew Walkers. A group of gay men and women decide to support the striking miners by raising funds. Centred around a London bookshop owned by Gethin, Andrew Scott, whose partner is Jonathan, Dominic West, the main instigator is Mark, Ben Schnetzer. After raising funds, they try to approach the miners' union, but are rebuffed. So they try a direct approach in the town of Delays, a small mining village in Wales, where Di, Paddy Considine, tries to bridge the gap between the visitors and the entrenched attitudes of the tough miners.
You get a garbled message over the phone. I thought the hour was for London. London something. I never dreamed for a moment it was Alpha.
Hi.
This money you've raised, that's all from gays and lesbians?
Mostly.
Right. There we are.
This is just the beginning.
Oh? You've got big plans. Well, I'm not going to pretend I'm not surprised. You could see that. Truth told, you're the first gays I've ever met in my life.
As far as you're aware.
That's true.
And you're the first miner I've ever met.
The more accepting ones in the village are Cliff, Bill Nye, Havina, Imelda Staunton, a determined Sian, Jessica Gunning, and old Gwen, Mena Trussler. Swept up in the movement is young Joe, George Mackay, who's still in the closet at home but out on the streets with his mates. The idea of these two very different communities, both of which are being bullied by the police, the tabloids and the government, coming together is a source of comedy, politics and emotion. The performances are universally top-notch, with Ben Schnetzer really impressive as Mark and Dominic West enthusiastically showing these miners, who apparently don't know how to move their hips, how to boogie to disco. The screenplay by Stephen Beresford is completely manipulative, but even while you're aware of the film's formulaic cliches, it's impossible to resist the genuine heart of Pride. Shot on location in the village where the film is set, you also get glorious shots of the Welsh countryside. Matthew Walker's a noted theatre director, has only one feature before this, 1999 Simpatico, which was not received very well. Pride, however, will certainly touch audiences.
I'm sure it will, yes. I mean, it is a touching story, and it's a fascinating story because of such the wide gap between these two threatened communities, the gays in one hand and the miners on the other. And the coming together of them, it is a bit manipulative, it is a bit predictable. There are really no surprises once you've got the initial setup, which itself is a bit of a surprise.
But apparently it's actually based on
real
people
yes,
too.
Yes, I think it is, yes. And look, they're all interesting, and the characters in the Welsh village are lovely characters. And I don't know quite what I was looking for, but I just wanted something. It is the sort of same formula of films like Calendar Girls and things like this, of Brits making extraordinary decisions, going out of their comfort zone to do things they wouldn't normally do.
Yeah, I suppose. But I found actually that, this has got a gut wrench in the end that I found really actually very moving.
Yeah, last few minutes.
Yeah, I'm giving it 4 stars.
I'm giving it 3.5. Pride opens nationally this week. Maier the Bee Movie is an Australian-German co-production, an animated film aimed at the younger crowd. With pastel colours and a gentle approach, it tells the story of feisty Maier, voiced by Coco Jack Gillies, who rebels against the rules and regulations in the beehive and as a result is expelled into the meadow, where she's warned dangerous bugs abound. Accompanied by the fearful Willie, Cody Smith-McPhee, Maier befriends a variety of critters, including Flip, a grasshopper, voiced by Richard Roxburgh, a young hornet, a dung beetle, soldier ants, and other bugs. Meanwhile, back in the hive, the ambitious royal advisor, Jackie Weaver, is conspiring to overthrow the queen bee, Miriam Margolyes, with the help of Crawley, Noah Taylor.
The royal jelly!
That smells yummy!
Yummy? Do you realise what you almost did? This is a year's supply of royal jelly, child. The Queen's life depends on it. She can't eat anything else.
She can't eat anything else.
Crawley, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Oh, ladybugs aren't always ladies.
I'm thinking this royal jelly is the answer to our little problem with the Queen.
Oh.
Kids, especially girls, should enjoy the fearless heroine Maier, who at one point is described as having more spark than a barrel full of lightning bugs. Apart from its celebration of its female hero, who is far more courageous than her male buddy, the message is a plea for friendship across different species. Hornets may be different, but hey, we can all be friends. Mind you, the film also celebrates the role of the monarchy, so Republicans beware. The animation is charming and the story moves along briskly. Alex Staderman was the director. Margaret, did you enjoy it?
I loved it. I think there is so little entertainment for very young children that's enjoyable for adults. And this is perfect. It's so gorgeous. I really loved it. I loved Maier. You can't have a beehive without a queen bee. It's not about the monarchy, really.
Well, it is.
No, it's not. You can't. Where do you get all the little bees come from? But I also love the fact that, you know, none of the voices are recognisable. I can't stand animation where you can hear the actor and recognise the actor behind the voice. So I think the voices have been really, really well done.
But you don't like animation very much.
I know I don't, but
Yeah.
some of them I embrace.
And you embrace
I'm a
this?
sucker for, you know, sweet ones. And this is really sweet.
Very
and
sweet.
it's got a lovely message. And you sound a little bit cynical about the message. I don't like that.
Well, no, I'm not. No, I'm not cynical about the basic message at all.
Oh, good.
I just think it's a nice film, but nice.
Yes, it's no, it's more than nice. It's lovely, and I'm giving it 4 stars.
I'm giving it 3.
You're not like any other bee I've met.
Ugh, I keep hearing that.
No. I meant that in a good way. We can be first flight buddies.
Ooh, I'd like that. Miss Teacher Bee, when do we go on our first flight? When?
Silence,
When?
396.
My name is Maier.
Patience, Maier. You must learn about the dangers first. We were just talking about hornets.
What's a hornet?
Why, just a bee's worst enemy. Great big scaly things with giant claws and red eyes. They like nothing more than dipping baby bees in pollen dust for their supper.
She's cute. The Bee movie opens around the country this week. And now to the classic, a strange one. It's Johnny Guitar from 1954, directed by Nicholas Ray. The film is strange because although it seems to be a Western, it has all the outward appearance of one, but there are unsettling, even bizarre undercurrents here. It stars Joan Crawford as Vienna, the owner of a bar and casino that seems to exist in its own universe. She's waiting for the railway line to come through so she can make a fortune. But she's fallen foul of local ranchers, played by Ward Bond and an especially histrionic Mercedes McCambridge, who seems to have her own agenda for getting Vienna either out of town or strung up. Is she protecting the ranchers from the incursion of settlers? Is she in love with one of Vienna's beaux, the dancing kid, Scott Brady? Or is she secretly besotted with Vienna herself? At Vienna's invitation, Johnny Guitar, Sterling Hayden, arrives, ostensibly to add musical lustre to her establishment. But even he is not what he seems. Despite the film's title, Johnny Guitar, this film belongs to the women.
You'll never see a train run through. Now you said it. It took a long time for the truth to come out, didn't it? You and McIvers own the whole town and every head of beef within 500 miles. But that isn't enough, is it? You've got to own everything. You can't stand to see anybody else live. Well, you're going to. You're going to see a whole new town. Right where you're standing. A town you don't own. The railroad's sending in people by tens, 20s, hundreds, and thousands. You can't keep them all out. Tell them, Mr. Andrews.
I think you put it rather well. You're not building no depot here. That's for Vienna to decide.
Vienna decided. Now get out! Get out, all of you! That's big talk for a little gun. You can't shoot all of us. 2 of you will do.
People have wondered at so many odd elements of this film. Joan Crawford's costumes, which go from rootin' tootin' gunslinger gear to what is almost a flouncy white wedding dress. Crawford struts her stuff in an overhyped fashion, but that's nothing compared to the performance of Mercedes McCambridge. The harsh landscape is in contrast to the lush surroundings inside Vienna's saloon. It's so weird, it's absolutely fascinating. The screenwriting credit goes to Philip Yordan, based on a book by Roy Chancellor. But in fact, the writer was blacklisted Ben Maddow, and the film is seen by many as characterising the paranoia which resulted from McCarthy's House Un-American Committee hearings. Its reception in America was mixed, but in Europe, the filmmakers of the new wave embraced it. Martin Scorsese describes it as an intense, unconventional, stylised film full of ambiguities and subtext that render it extremely modern. David.
And Marty's spot on. I love Johnny Guitar. It's a film. It's interesting that the two American films that most directly were allegories of the blacklist were both westerns, High Noon and this one. And the scenes where the kid, played by Ben Cooper, is sort of being grilled by all the ranchers, and they're asking him to betray his friends, to name names. It's explicitly what it was like in front of the House Un-American Activities Committee. And so there are so many direct things going on here, but it's also such a... The relationships are, as you say, so weird. Although it's called Johnny Guitar, Sterling Hayden has almost nothing to do. It's all Joan Crawford and Mercedes McCambridge, and they're it's a feminist western. It's a gay feminist western.
But there are so many unanswered questions, so many textures to the film.
Yeah.
I mean, it's completely fascinating. But I love this next scene.
I can't. Not a woman.
It's up to you.
Not me.
I'll give $100. You'll have to do it yourself, Emma.
And Emma will. Johnny Guitar, it's a wonderful film. Well done, Margaret. And next week's classic is directed by Joseph L. Mankiewicz, No Way Out.
And that's the show for tonight. So good night from us.
Good night.